Cats, they're some of our favorite best friends in the world. They give us companionship. They give us love. They give us laughs, even. They, of course, don't have personal boundaries. They may be mischievous at times, but yet they are our friend and loved ones. Of course, we must do everything in our power to protect these little creatures. Today, I'm here talking about not quite a simple matter, but yet a matter that people see as simple, which it is clearly not. I have been a cat lover and a cat man ever since I was little. I grew up with several different cats. One was named Baby. She was three-legged. One was named Tibbs. He was very wild, very stray. Sadly, he wandered off. But a thing which I have always kept with myself is no declawing. And Mason, no declawing? What? What are you talking about? I gotta protect my furniture. I gotta protect my chairs. I have to do this and that to make sure my $100 sofa is not being ruined by my feline friend in the back. That is, she's going to sleep right now, so I can't disturb her. So, but when we get to the point of decline, we think of it as we snip their nails off and they go home and have a happy life. But it's not. It is something that is much more far complex and far more brutal than most veterinarians lead people to believe. It is a complex operation hidden behind simplicity just for the part to sell it as simple so they don't have to explain each steps. And today, in this video, we will be talking about how the act of declawing should be federally illegal in America and how it should not be allowed within our veterinary clinics. It is a cruel and immoral, yes, I'm going to use that word, immoral thing to do towards a feline. Now, looking at the start of this video, you might have a lot of emotions flowing towards you. Mason, I have tons of declawed cats. It's the only thing I do with my cats. The moment I get one, I'll declaw it. Are you insane? Of course, I wouldn't say that directly to a person that declaws their cats, but yet it is not something that should be done. And I am sitting here and ranting about the dangers of it, so let me get into the dangers. The dangers consist of many adverse health developments. It is a horrible, horrible thing that can cause the cat to have a life full of suffering, basically. It's not just, as they tell you, it's not, oh, I just cut out the nail, you know. I'm cutting out the nail, nothing to hurt him, right? It's just so they can't scratch. But what it actually is it's the bone. It is entirely the bone. It's not anything simple like that. It's called the phalanx. I hope I'm saying that right. And it goes up to the bone in the paw, people. Bone in the paw. And of course, most people don't know how this actually works because they're going to a vet. They're like, yeah, my cat's scratching me. My cat's scratching my couch. It's a $1,000 couch. I can't have my cat I got from the streets or the Humane Society scratching my shiz up, you know? So you gotta make sure that doesn't happen. But they won't tell you what the whole surgery is, because the surgery, when you explain it base by base, it becomes a brutalized, like a very brutal surgery. I don't know why it's brutalized. I'm going to have to edit that out. It includes not just the phalanx up to the joint, but it takes out bones, ligaments, and tendons. When they do that guillotine, they are chopping off the nail. And you always hear that old adage with people who are against declawing cats, that it's basically taking your finger and then cutting right here off. And like, oh yeah, I've heard that always, Mason. Like, come on. That's just scare tactic. Just no, it is really like that. It truly is. And it's a horrifying thing. And not with only that. It is just the guillotining effect of the bone. They just cut it right off there at the joint. And with that, it's not, they don't even make sure, most vets don't even make sure that there's no, bones left in when they cut off the freaking nail. They don't make sure. It's a horrible thing. And listen, why would that matter? Like, they're just cutting it off. Like, yeah, there's going to be bone inside the paw. Like, what I'm talking about is P3 fragments. P3 fragments are pieces of the phalanx that get left behind and not seen by veterinarians. They are left behind, and they have chances to grow into a bigger and newer claw. And that itself leads to many, many cases of developing new claws in the paw, which is painful, or it hurts them to walk because of the bones. But it's not just the bone fragments that cause pain. It's just the whole thing entirely about it. It can cause adverse effects, which I will show. But first, I do want to show what it is like to, and I'm going to transfer over to my desktop so you're going to be able to see where they cut off the bone and how it's done.
This is it's not, of course, a perfect picture of what a feline's cat looks like, but this is basically the gist of it. We have the bones, we have the phalanx, we have the tendons. As seen, the flexor tendon is number 6. Number 7 is the dorsal ligaments. And you can see the dotted line is exactly where they cut on the cat's claw. It's horrible. And you see here that, yes, it's not the entire bone right from the side, right? It's not right here. It's right here. It severs this ligament, and this ligament, while it also cuts through tissue and bones. So it's not just them going through and cutting off the nail that causes the scratches and cuts, but it is like I said, a guillotining process that makes it so, boom, chopped off and done, like you're chopping a carrot into a stew, basically. It is foul. But that's not even the worst part. The worst part is things that can come up after they are declawed. And I will get into that right next, after showing you another image that I got from Delaware Pet Rescue, formerly Delaware Puppy Rescue. Amazing site. You can donate to it if you would like. And here we have the full. I'm not a veterinarian. I'm just a kid who really loves pets. I love my pets so much, especially my cats and my dogs. Any animal for that. So I, of course, do not have the full understanding of the claw, but it's not as complicated as people make it. This on the right side is what it looks like after declawing. That entire bone is taken off the claw, or off the paw, I should say, and it is completely separated, all the ligaments, all the tendons. Here we have the anatomic changes after declawing. This is a photo from the physical consequences of declawing from Little Big Cat. This is exactly where I got it, and we are going to take a look at how the claw actually completely changes of how they walk and everything. So as we can see, the normal toe is retracted. We see the P1 to P2 and to P3. The parts of the claw that reach out to the actual sharpness, right? Now we have the normal toe extended right here. But as you can look right below it on the third image, we have the P1, P2. And I was like, where's the P3? Oh my God. That's what they take off. They take off the P3. And with the P3, you can see how when they cut it off, where my cursor is, they will not go in and take out the fragments. They will just leave them there. And you can see how the P2 of the bone becomes directly weight-bearing. And then over time, the tendons contract, creating an unnatural angle and putting even more pressure on the P2. This itself is what leads to cats developing pain problems, because instead of having their P3 where they can actually adjust their weight and have their claws and move around normally, they have to completely, their autonomy has to change completely in order to become declawed. And that is the dangers of it, and that's why there's so much pain that can go, evolve around this issue. When they go home, they recover, but yet they're never fully recovered. Yeah, you might have to give them medicines and pain relievers, but they're never going to fully recover. And actually, they're never going to get to a point where they walk normally again. It is truly horrifying thing. And actually, going back to that, we can see X-ray photos of the paws, and it's viewer discretion advised. I'm sorry that I'm going to show this though, because it is an important thing that we have to know and we have to spread. normal paw, gross paw. You can see how, oh God, it's such a sad image. It really evokes an emotion within me seeing this, because most people don't think of the aftermath causes of it, and that's what we need to change. This shows how the cats walk. You can see now the P3 is now pointing straight down and kind of acting like a claw when they walk. That's not good. That's not good at all.
And now we're going to talk about the horrible health effects I've been kind of just ranting about this entire time. It's a complicated issue because people think that it's a one problem fix. My cat's scratching, like I've said, and I'm being redundant at this point probably, but it's just such a horrible thing. Now we're going to get into the discussion of what it can develop into after declawing your cat. Using a study called Pain and Adverse Behavior in Declawed Cats by Nicole Martel Moran, Mauricio Solano, and Hugh Townsend. This study they took non-declawed cats and then declawed cats. They compared them in shelters, homes, and stuff like that. Well, the conclusions of this study, looking through it at the end, they did find the odds of back pain rising 2.9 odds. It's an odd ratio of 2.9. They also found out, I don't know how to pronounce this word, but it's basically inappropriate defecation and urination. It is when the cats are uncomfortable, so they develop a bad behavior of defecating and urinating around the house, not in their proper litter boxes. They also develop biting or aggression. They show that barbering the fur, where they bite their fur off, is also increased in 137 declawed cats compared to the non-declawed cats of 137. With this, we can see a direct comparison of what could happen. And with that, this study also included cats who also had P3 fragments left inside their paw without knowing. They were screened, they were looked at, and they found that they did have non-removed fragments from their declawing. And with the fragments left inside their paw, makes it even worse. It was found that cats that had those retained P3 fragments were at greater odds of back pain. We can also see that it puts the odds ratio up for inappropriate defecation and urination. It is a 9.9 odds ratio that goes up if those P3 fragments are still inside the paw that can develop into claws and more pain. It also raises aggression in cats that are declawed and still has those. They increase odds of biting. Inappropriate habits of anything, really. Defecation, scratching, biting, aggression towards cats, towards humans. And it's something that can be looked upon as a simple fix to your issues. But in the long run, you're hurting your cat. And that's not an easy thing to say to people. You can't go up to someone and go, "You're hurting your cat. You need to stop this." Because, of course, their beliefs are not going to align with yours. But with this, we can tell and show people that it does hurt their cats. And with federal banning, we can show and tell that this practice is brutal and unethical. And that is a serious part to this conversation. Yes, we have difficulty with maybe exceptions. You have a disease you can't allow to be spread through being cut. You are a hand model. You are someone else who can't afford to be scratched. But you need to try not to get your cat declawed. It is for the best. We can see here through this case study, that it shows that you will increase the risk to that. And we have seen states and cities that have federally made this illegal, but of course with medical exception. If a medical doctor comes in and says, yes, this person probably needs a declawed cat because it's unsafe for them, right? But that's okay, right? And really the only states that have banned the practice is Maryland, New York, Rhode Island, and Virginia. Those are the only states, and of course, there's several cities and towns that have banned it, which is amazing, and I think many should follow with this unethical treatment of animals. It is completely unethical and not allowed. And of course, some veterinarians say it's okay. Some veterinarians say it's not. But majority of veterinarians are against this. But it's a complex issue. But not as complex as we make it. But it's also, we make it into the simple issue that's not simple as well. It's a kind of a difficult controversy in effect, where we have cats always running amok, always scratching, always biting, always grabbing stuff from our tables and shelves, knocking over cups of waters. But they get to that point. They get to the point. Oh, my furniture. Oh no, my whatever they're called, my sectional couch I spent my entire taxes on. Oh no. But that is not an excuse to give your cat such a horrible, horrible procedure. That leads us into their next issue. That's not really an issue. It's more of just a conversation on the fact of why do cats scratch? Of course, we think of cats. What are they going to do? They're going to scratch, right? They're going to scratch. They're going to bite. They're going to run around. They're going to use a litter box. They're going to go eat. They're going to beg for food. They're going to sit on your laptop, right? They're going to do all these wacky things. And with scratching, people think scratching is how do I put it? A behavioral issue, They don't understand that the act of scratching and behavior within cats is actually a very vital and important behavior within cats. From taking a excerpt from Nikki Nazer in her 2022 article on Chewy, she had a vet named Dr. Conrad to help explain vital scratching is within a cat. With this, they basically explain that cats scratch things because they need to. They need to, and it's part of their nature. They mark territory by scratching. They strengthen their claws by scratching. They groom their claws by scratching. I already said mark territory. It's a way of exercise. Paws are the scent glands that release a kitty scent into everything they scratch. So an effort, them doing that is not just to get back at you. It's like, you're going to give me enough food, I'm going to ruin your furniture. You're going to wake up and it's going to have cat scratches, it's going to have tears, it's going to have cuts, it's going to have everything. That's not why they're doing this. Like, yeah, if you're mean to the cat, don't doubt it. Your cat's probably going to stalk you while you sleep, and the moment you wake up, freaking claw your eyes out, but cats don't just normally do that. There's other things to that. But that's why it shouldn't be taken away from them. This procedure should not be allowed to take away the vitalness of their claws. And that's a big part of veterinarians. It relieves anxiety, it helps them stretch, it helps them just get around, exercise, stretch their muscles. It's just a normal function for cats, and people just sometimes forget that. Just like how your dog barks. Your dog normally barks when they see the mailman. Your dog normally barks when they see a relative or another dog. Are you going to... yes, this is very hyperbole, but are you going to cut out your dog's tongue? Well, some people put on shock collars, which I disagree with. I disagree with that fully. I believe that you shouldn't be able to put dog collars, but that's a completely different issue. We're talking about this. And with that, we need to know that we have other cases where we can basically stop their clawing on things. We can make it so we can get them cat scratching posts. You can get these things on Amazon, I've saw, that basically go right into your wall with adhesive, doesn't ruin your wall or anything, and cats will scratch it. You can get toys that help them scratch. You can get many different things. You can get pads for your furniture that stop the scratching. Or there's even some studies where they used a synthetic pheromone, I believe, to ward off the scratching from the cats. It's like a spray. That is all better than what they do in veterinary clinics. Of course, not all veterinarians, but majority of them where it's not illegal. And that's a big part of it, is that yes, it's extra money, right? It's extra money to make your cat have a scratching post to get him a nice tree or whatever. Yeah, but it's worth it. You don't want to pay that vet bill for declawing, and then when your cat hits its elder age or whenever in its life, suddenly you have to deal with pain medicine. You have to deal with maybe extra surgeries. You have to deal with your cat just suffering in pain. And that is one of the most hardest things anyone can do. And that's why I'm surprised that there isn't more conversation. Oh, I shouldn't say that. There's tons of conversation on this. People all around the world are saying that this should not be allowed. Some states, some legislatures, and also even Nebraska had parts of it where we were introducing. Oh God, what was it? LB 133, I think it was. I think that was the thing where we were introducing legislation that would make it illegal in Nebraska to make it no decline. Of course, with medical exception, of course, from a doctor. And that is the important part of it.